February 13, 2019 Prosper Portland Board of Commissioners meeting is hereby convened. Pam, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Platt?
Present.
Commissioner Gambetti?
Here.
Commissioner Moreland Capuya?
Here.
Commissioner Myers?
Here.
Chair Cruz?
Here. Thank you.
This microphone.
All right, we'll start off with commissioner reports. Commissioner Platt, would you like to start on that? Or did I catch you mid-bite? Sorry.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Commissioner Gambetti?
On January 31st, I attended the Portland Business Journal Breakfast, which featured Kimberly Branham as a guest speaker, panelist, interview. I don't know what you called it. It was really interesting just getting to see what kind of experiences brought you to where you are today and has shaped your visions for this organization. So I thought it was a really exciting and interesting talk. And then yesterday, February 12th, I attended the Broadway Corridor Executive Committee meeting.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Myers?
I get to echo both of those. I was actually at the PBJ breakfast as well, where Kimberly laid out the vision of Prosper Portland, and also at the Broadway Corridor Executive Committee yesterday. So.
Great. And Commissioner Moreland Capuya?
February 6th was at the Hill Block meeting.
Great, thank you. Let's see, on January 23rd, I attended the Prosper Portland Budget Work Session. I think everybody else is there too. On the 30th, January 30th, I attended, this is not really related, but I attended the Portland Center Stage Board meeting. January 31st, I attended the Portland Business Journal Breakfast, and Executive Director Branham did a fantastic job, so congratulations there. On the 31st, I attended the Elevate Inclusive Fund Advisory Board meeting. And on the 11th, I attended, also not quite related, but sort of the Northwest Neighborhood Cultural Center Board meeting. So that's all I have. All right, next, Executive Director Branham.
Thank you, Chair Cruz and Commissioners. So this past month, we continued to make progress on our key priorities of increasing access to quality employment, supporting the growth of small businesses, and building inclusive and vibrant neighborhoods through partnerships. This is all, of course, in line with our 2020 strategic plan. And if people have questions, they can find out more about the plan and the progress that we've made over the last 3 years on prosperportland.us. So on January 21st, Prosper Portland New Leaf Project announced grants to cannabis businesses, Green Box and Green Hop, both of which are owned by African-American entrepreneurs to support their business ventures. New Leaf is the technical assistance provider for our Cannabis Business Development Equity Program. It's an initiative to support cannabis entrepreneurs from communities that have historically been disproportionately negatively impacted by the cannabis prohibition. We appreciate Commissioner Udaley and Commissioner Fritz's leadership in this initiative, which is funded through City of Portland's cannabis tax revenue, and shout out to Amanda Park and Catherine Kroniak for leading Prosper Portland's work in this partnership. We hosted an open house focused on supporting new development here in Old Town Chinatown on January 22nd. There were approximately 100 people who came to the open house to hear information and to share their input on the future of Northwest 4th and Burnside and Block 25, which is between Northwest Gleason and Flanders on 3rd and 4th. So thanks to Bernie Karofsky, Eric Jacobson, and Talia Martinez for their work on this effort. It's really exciting to see forward progress. As was mentioned, I had the opportunity to speak to Craig Wessel, publisher of the Portland Business Journal, and appreciated the opportunity to be able to talk about our work. We did receive a letter from the South Portland Neighborhood Association following something that was reported from what I mentioned about the status of our negotiations with the Zidels and the development agreement. So I wanted to just stress that we continue to be really supportive of the long-term priorities in the North Macadam urban renewal area regarding affordable housing and transportation improvements, as well as economic opportunities in open space. And so in the coming months, while we are not moving forward with the development agreement, we will be looking for alternative ways to support those long-term priorities. So just wanted to make sure that that was clear. As Commissioner Moreland Capuya, I attended the Hill Block Project Working Group meeting and invited guests Mayor Wheeler, and Commissioner Hardesty was also there. The project working group is actively planning both their approach to community engagement as well as the development priorities. You can find out more on our website, and there will be a community forum sometime in the near future, so we'll be able to talk more about that in the near future. We also hosted an open house on Lentz Town Center Phase 2 development on Monday, February 11th. There were approximately 120 community members who came to give their input and hear a report of what we had heard from focus groups and other specific conversations to talk about this next phase of development on Southeast 92nd. There will be another community conversation taking place on Monday, February 25th, again, to summarize what we've heard and to begin to think about how that input might shape the development there. So I'd like to share my appreciation with Allison Wicks and the entire Lentz team for putting on a number of really engaging community-focused conversations. And again, you can learn more at prosperportland.us/Lentz. Prosper Portland took 6 local emerging companies to the New York Now show in New York City last week to support their access to new markets and ultimately to help create new quality employment opportunities in Portland. So thanks to Sue Ball, who's our outdoor and athletic industry liaison, for her work on this. She also took 6 companies to the same show, which happens twice a year, last summer, and the results from that included $106,000 in sales for 6 small businesses. So we know that there are likely to be similar outcomes in this most recent round. So speaking of the athletic and outdoor industry, Prosper Portland is hosting our annual event with the industry tonight, February 13th, at the Porter Hotel. This year's event is called Outdoor Responsibly, and it's focused on how the athletic and outdoor industry is taking responsibility for the way the outdoors is accessed and used and marketed. This is the 8th event that we've had since 2011, and it's an opportunity for us to have an event to bring talent from across the industry together to talk about issues that matter to the entire industry. So looking forward, just a couple of things to highlight. I'm looking forward to supporting partners who are cultivating the next generation of leaders and entrepreneurs. Next week, we'll be attending Kairos PDX Learning Academy and All Hands Raised annual events on February 20th and 21st. And if they're not already sold out, people should definitely see if they can join. The graduation event for the 3rd cohort of the Increase Project will take place Thursday, February 28th. This is part of the Inclusive Business Resource Network, and clients have access not only to the support from the Increase Project, but also to other network services. Businesses looking for support should go to interrise.org/increase-project for more information. Finally, and especially since it is Black History Month, I'd like to mention 2 events related to the Oregon Black Pioneers that are coming shortly. So the Oregon Historical Society will premiere a new episode of the Oregon Experience called Oregon Black Pioneers on Wednesday, February 20th. Following the screening, there will be a panel discussion and Q&A featuring Prosper Portland's Kim Moreland, who's also Vice President of Oregon Black Pioneers. You can visit ohs.org/events for more information. This will also be showing on OPB television on Monday, February 25th. And finally, Oregon Black Pioneers celebrates its 25th anniversary, Saturday, March 2nd, and the public is invited to join the party. The anniversary gala and fundraiser feature guest speaker, the Honorable Oregon Supreme Court Justice Adrienne Nelson. You can find out more at OregonBlackPioneers.org. So thanks very much.
Great, thank you. It's a great report. All right, next up, we have approval of the minutes from our January 16th meeting. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes, or are there any comments?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks very much. All right, next we have public comment for items not on the agenda. Do we have anyone here for public comment? No? Okay. All right. Okay, next we have item 6. This is an action item approving an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Portland's Bureau of Transportation for construction of Sullivan's Crossing pedestrian/bicycle bridge. And Amy Nagy will present. Welcome.
Okay, good afternoon, Commissioners, Executive Director Branham. My name is Amy Nagy. I'm a project manager in the development department here at Prosper Portland. The item I'm bringing forward today would permit Director Branham to enter into an IGA with the Bureau of Transportation, also known as PBOT, to invest $2 million of Prosper Portland resources into the construction of the Sullivan's Crossing pedestrian and bike bridge. I'd also like to note here that I'm also joined by a colleague, Dan Layden, who's behind that pole. So Dan is the capital program manager and the project manager at PBOT on this project. And so he's going to be available to provide a few comments after my presentation, as well as answer any questions you might have. So this project has a lot of benefits for the city. A few in particular is a new transit corridor that supports the job growth in the Central City's east side, while also enabling residents and employees to move safely between Lloyd and Central East Side. The project leverages public and private resources to fund infrastructure that is critical to the Central City. And further, the new bridge will actually link transit improvements that PBOT has been making with, particularly along 7th Avenue, to build out a corridor from Northeast Portland down to the Telecom Bridge. In terms of alignment with our strategic plan, it supports the creation of healthy and connected neighborhoods. It also seeks to form 21st century partnerships to fund innovative and resilient infrastructure. It's also consistent, I want to just note, with the Oregon Convention Center Urban Renewal Plan, and that is to fund transit improvements that also support the private investment and employment growth for the area. So the Lloyd and Central East Side are neighboring districts within the Central City. Both are thriving with employment as well as a growing number of residents. However, they are separated by a freeway and have limited overhead connections for pedestrians and cyclists. Currently, the only crossings are 12th Avenue, Grand, and MLK, and these are on the peripheries of both districts, so it requires folks to travel several blocks out of their way in order to get to one of the crossings. And then once they do, they don't feel particularly comfortable as a walker or a biker because of the high auto traffic as well as the freight traffic on those lines. This new bridge alignment would be along 7th Avenue, spanning over I-84 and the Union Pacific Railroad to begin knitting together the Portland street grid and improve people's access to the actual central areas of these two rapidly growing neighborhoods. In addition, the bridge is a critical leg of the Green Loop, and this is a concept that came out of the Central City 2035 plan. It envisions a 6-mile linear park of active transportation that links people both to downtown Portland and beyond. Further, the new bridge is going to link some of the transit improvements that PBOT's been making along 7th, as I just mentioned. And here's some imagery for the new bridge. The bridge type is known as the skip, so it'll be approximately 500 feet long. Pedestrians will move along the west side of the bridge, which is going to offer fantastic views of Big Pink and downtown. Cyclists will be on the east side. It also noted that if in case of a major earthquake, the bridge has been engineered to remain functional and also allow access for emergency vehicles. The total project cost for this is $13.5 million. PBOT is going to go ahead and manage the bridge construction, which is planned for early summer of 2019, with completion planned for December of 2020. And here's one of the renderings. As you can see here, we're looking from Northeast Lloyd Boulevard south. And this is going to provide a much more passive and safe way to travel for pedestrians and cyclists, also presenting a nice landing at the end of the bridge for them to enter into their districts. And I also just want to note another rendering here. This is from Central East Side looking towards Lloyd. And right now there are buildings on either side with businesses, but it's a non-pass-through road. And so this would really activate, again, that kind of 7th Avenue spot. In terms of community engagement, PBOT led this, and that included hosting 2 open houses, attending neighborhood and industry association meetings, including Go Lloyd and the Central East Side Industrial Council. Also included individual meetings with adjacent property owners and an online feedback, so folks who couldn't be there in person could also provide and participate in the process. This is also in addition to the engagement that occurred while crafting both the Central City 2035 and the Central City in Motion plans, where the bridge was a big topic. So, in addition to moving residents and workers more efficiently and more safely, reducing our carbon footprint by offering alternatives to cars, we have an opportunity through the city's equity policy for certified minority, women, and emerging small business firms and contractors to help build the bridge. HP Civil was selected as the construction manager general contractor. They're committed to achieving 22% of MWESB participation on the project, which is just under $3 million in the contract value. We have a strong legacy with partnering with PBOT on strategic infrastructure, and this is another great example of that. In addition, the private sector community is very excited about it, and so much so that both Go Lloyd and the Central East Side Industrial Council are each contributing $250,000 towards the project. I actually have a letter that Justin Douglas just so timely passed out to you from Executive Director Rowan Shelley of Go Lloyd. Unfortunately, he couldn't join us today, but he was wanting to show his support for the project. And as I mentioned, it's a big priority for Lloyd as they're looking to diversify the transit modes within their area in particular. So as part of our joint investment, not only in this project, but PBOT has committed to investing $5 million in infrastructure to support the redevelopment of the Broadway corridor on the west side. So what this means is we're leveraging our $2 million commitment and for both public and private sector, and then also benefiting 3 different tax increment financing districts, which is super exciting from a project manager perspective. There were a couple of items that came up during our commissioner briefings the other day, and so I just wanted to give a little bit more detail on that for you all, and then again, happy to answer questions. So in terms of Broadway corridor, I think it was a little bit unclear in terms of the $5 million. So this will be made available through systems development charges. And that could be used to make the transportation improvements to support the development of Broadway corridor. Of that $5 million, there's $2 million that's currently been allocated for that initial phase. So I hope that provides that. Then there was the cost savings clause within the IGA, in the intergovernmental agreement, excuse me. So just to clarify that, whatever funds are saved during the construction will then be proportionately reimbursed back to the funding agencies. So I think we were very detailed in the IGA, and we used the number of 73%, and that was representing at the time PBOT's contribution to the project. So they had 73% of the money of the total project. The numbers have changed a little bit. That's increased, so theirs is currently about 81%. Dan has assured me all of our funds are going to be well used, but if there were funds that were to be left over, those would be proportionately reimbursed back to us, which would be roughly about just under 15%. So with that, I'm happy to either answer some questions now, or we can also hear from Dan, either way you'd like to do it.
Questions or comments?
I think the other question that had come up was,
Yes.
if, I'm sure there won't be, but should there be cost overruns, who's responsible for that, and how would that be?
Dan. So Dan's going to cover that for us. No, PBOT will be responsible for filling any gaps there are. Yeah. So this IGA only commits us to a maximum of $2 million.
Other questions? No?
I have a quick question. Do you know if PBOT's going to enter into a community benefits agreement for the construction of the project with city policy?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I'm Dan Layden from PBOT, I'm the project manager for this project. I think Amy really covered most of what I was going to cover. We're very excited about the project. We've entered into a construction management general contractor agreement with HP Civil that does include a community benefits agreement. We're still in the process of negotiating the details of that, but yes, that will be part of the project.
That's what you refer to as the 22% commitment,
Yes.
That's correct, yes.
That's correct.
approximately $3 million.
Right, based on the current project cost.
others? No? Great. Well, this is a very exciting project. Yeah, super.
We're excited.
Yeah.
All right, so would someone like to make a motion to approve Resolution 7300?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Great.
Job.
Okay. Our next item is item number 7, also an action item authorizing property valuation, acquisition and management and disposition and leasing policies, and superseding and consolidating certain resolutions, all related to our real estate policies. So, Amy Edwards and Amber Breckenridge, welcome.
Thank you. I pour water?
Good afternoon, Chair Cruz, Commissioners, Executive Director Branham. My name is Amy Edwards. I'm the Asset and Investment Manager in the Development and Investment Department, and I'm sitting here with my colleague Amber Breckenridge, our Project Manager too. We're happy to be here in front of you today, and before we begin our presentation, we want to acknowledge not just us sitting here presenting to you, but the enormous contribution of many of our colleagues in this work, including, but not limited to, our legal department and our administrative policy manager, Dan Spiro. We're here today to seek board approval for Prosper Portland's new real estate policies, which provide clarity and establish a consistent set of guidelines by which Prosper Portland conducts its business vis-a-vis its real estate portfolio. The action before you is an essential element for the asset management team as well as the agency in contributing to our strategic plan goal of creating an equitable, innovative, and financially stable agency. Before we dive into the details, we want to just provide a little bit of context for you. This work essentially began with the adoption of the 2015-2020 strategic plan. The strategic plan outlines the specific actions that the agency will undertake in order to become that equitable, innovative, and financially sustainable agency, which that includes the developing a long-term business plan to define exactly how we're going to go about meeting those goals. Through the development of the long-term business plan, we updated the financial investment policy, which affirmed that our investments should seek public benefits and result in asset ownership or a financial return of and on capital. In July of 2018, the board adopted the financial sustainability plan, whose primary objective was to optimize public benefit and financial return of remaining TIF, as well as the real estate assets. In addition, a contributing factor that we are factoring into our policies is, of course, our social equity policy, which was amended by the board in 2017. So in order to accomplish these goals that we've set forth, the staff performed a comprehensive review of all of the existing to-date real estate policies, as well as real estate procedures and other associated documentation, and then began the process of revising those policies and creating new policies that would accurately reflect the goals, create streamlined guidelines, and give the staff the guidance to perform its work in the future. So with that, I'll turn it to Amber.
Thank you. Chair Cruz, Commissioners, Executive Director Branham. As Amy mentioned, my name is Amber Breckenridge, and I'm a project manager too in the asset and investment team of the Development and Investment Department. I'm going to go into a few slides that go through the policies themselves, but before I do that, I just wanted to thank you all for your comments earlier this week. We've taken those into consideration and provided red lines to you, which I believe Justin has delivered to you guys. As Amy mentioned, in order to improve consistency and eliminate redundancies and update references to outdated structures, we've combined some of the policies to make it more streamlined in the process. The valuation policy is actually the one policy that we didn't combine with any other ones, and it was adopted in 2012. The acquisition and disposition policies, however, were adopted way back in 2002. They've been updated various times throughout the years, most recently with the acquisition being in 2008 and the disposition in 2014, so still fairly old and outdated. There wasn't a property management policy, rather administrative procedures that were incorporated into the adoption of the acquisition and disposition policies in 2002. The property management administrative procedures spoke to both how we manage and lease the properties that Prosper Portland owns and controls. The previous policies sort of implied a silo where the development team would focus on the acquisition and disposition, and the asset management team would focus on the management and maintenance of the properties. By combining these functions and incorporating them into the acquisition and disposition policies, they now speak to the interconnected nature of the work that we do across our agency. The valuation policy establishes standards for determining the value of real property that Prosper Portland would acquire, sell, lease, or secure as collateral for a financial transaction. The valuation methodologies were revised based on your guys' feedback to reflect the types of valuations in certain circumstances based on the type and size of the transaction. These methodologies allows us to be more flexible to meet our strategic and financial goals for the property or the project. We've also revised the language that allows for adjustments of the valuation based on a variety of circumstances, including environmental conditions or to meet our strategic goals. Any adjustments to the valuation would be reviewed by the Financial Investment Committee and then would come back here for approval by the board. The acquisition and management policy is the guiding document for acquiring property and establishing management standards. Prosper Portland's goal is to acquire property in a fiscally prudent manner while facilitating the implementation of approved acquisition plans and projects. Once it's acquired, it's incumbent upon us to manage and maintain those properties in a safe manner, eliminating risks, keeping it clean and orderly, and also assessing its use for interim activities such as community events. In addition to initiating the management and maintenance on a property after acquisition, we would also create a property plan for that property. A property plan establishes the guidelines for stewardship of the property by reflecting its strategic, financial, and equity goals. Currently, Prosper Portland staff are working to finalize property plans for the entire portfolio, and we plan to bring those back at the April board meeting for approval. The picture that's on the slide is of the post office, which was acquired in 2016. Had this policy been adopted then, we believe we would have planned more collectively for the implementation of impending maintenance and management of the site, both strategically and financially. This new policy will inform future acquisitions and allow for a more cohesive approach on the acquisition and the management of the site afterwards. The disposition and leasing policy establishes rules regarding the disposition of real property as well as leasing now. As Prosper Portland moves from a property management strategy to our portfolio management strategy, it's important that we capture the range of activities that Prosper Portland staff engages in, particularly around the commercial and retail leasing. Under the new disposition and leasing policy, board approval would be for strategic alignment and financial return targets within the project, allowing the executive director to execute commercial and retail leases that are consistent with the property plans and targets that are approved by the board. This exception would allow Prosper Portland staff to shift with the market and better achieve the objectives and goals set forth in those property plans. An example of this would be Lentz Commons, which is the photo showed there, which has come back to the board many times for a change in terms and strategic and goals. It's likely that we will have additional projects that are similar to this, and by establishing the strategic alignment and the financial return targets up front, it allows staff to respond to the market interests quicker and without having to come back to the board multiple times for each lease. As long as those leases are consistent with the property plans and the target returns that have been approved by the board. If we were unable to meet those targets or were asked to manage the property in a different manner that's set forth in the property plan, we would again seek FIC, Financial Investment Committee review and approval by the board for those changes.
So by adopting these new real estate policies, we're able to codify the application of our equity policy in our work, as well as being clear and transparent for the public, which then allows the public and our community to have a more complete picture of how we do our work. Questions?
All right, well, this is great work. It's good to see it come to fruition, and thank you also for the revisions that you made. Appreciate that. So,
Of course.
thanks. All right, so would anyone like to make a motion to approve resolution number 7301?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Have a second? Second. Okay. Second. All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah, great. Big project. Okay. I think that is all we have today. I've lost my sheet. Here we go.
About that.
All right. Prosper Portland Board of Commissioners meeting is now adjourned. Thank you. Record time. Jeez.
We got to be careful. They're going to start racking on more items on our agenda.